What's up everyone, Darcblade here, returning with my Mass Effect 3 multiplayer class guide. Today we're going to take a look at another Earth DLC character, the N7 Demolisher. This class is a true Grenadier class, and as thus, it dishes out some very high damage. It also comes with a unique ability, the supply pylon, that can support any team. Now as always, I spec my characters for the harder difficulties in the multiplayer, and the N7 Demolisher I spec as follows. I put maximum points into supply pylon, mainly into extra grenades, because I would like the supply pylon to return as many grenades as possible, because I will be using them a lot. As for weapon damage or power damage, this depends on who you play with, whatever classes you play with. At the moment I've got it for weapon damage, because at the moment my teammates seem to rely on their weapons rather than their powers. I put points into resupply frequency as well, as this can also help chuck out extra grenades when I need them. Arc grenades I put maximum points into, mainly putting points into shield overload. This is because the arc grenades I use mainly on shielded opponents, while the homing grenades are better against armoured ones. I also put points into electrical damage. This is a nice damage over time ability that you can put on enemies. And I also put impact radius. This means that the damage over time effect will be put onto a greater number of enemies. I max out homing grenades as well, mainly for damage against armoured targets. It also puts a nice debuff on armoured targets, so weapons actually do more damage against them. I put points into fire damage because, like electric damage with the arc grenades, this is a nice damage over time effect you can add to the homing grenades. And lastly, I put points into actual damage of the grenade. The main reason why I didn't put points into radius was because I used the homing grenades to set off the tech combo set up by the arc grenades. Now as for the passive abilities, N7 Demolisher has some unique abilities, as in you can increase their grenade capacity. So I put all the points I can into increasing the grenade capacity of this character. The N7 Demolisher only has one ability that relies on power cooldown, which is the supply pylon, so you don't really have to worry about your weapon weight. As for fitness, the build I'm using is a glass cannon, so I cannot take many hits at all. If you feel you did have to put some points into fitness, maybe take them out of the N7 Demolisher's passive ability. As for weaponry, like I said, weight doesn't matter, so just tool yourself up with whatever weapons you feel most comfortable with. I go with an assault rifle and a shotgun for this character. Anyway, let's get into the main abilities of the N7 Demolisher. Firstly, it has supply pylon. This is a nice little beacon that the N7 Demolisher puts down on the ground, and it supplies teammates and yourself with grenades and additional thermal clips. Please take note though that the supply pylon does not continuously give out ammo and grenades. It takes about 10 to say 15 seconds for it to spew out and resupply you with the extra thermal clips and grenades. The supply pylon also comes with a nice buff it can give to teammates who stand near it. You can tell if you're standing near it because there is a circle around the pylon. Also, your shields will glow a little bit. People who stand in this circle near the pylon are basically granted an extra 25% of their maximum shields. This can be augmented with putting points in different places in the supply pylon tree. This is really handy, especially if you have spec'd the N7 Demolisher the way I have. If you put the supply pylon in a good location, somewhere where you're mainly going to be fighting from, you shouldn't feel the disadvantage of having less shields and less health, thanks to the supply pylon's effect of increasing your maximum shields by 25%. The only downside with the supply pylon that I can think of is it has a huge cooldown timer, made worse by the fact that you're probably carrying heavy weapons or a lot of weaponry, and it also takes a little bit of a while to set up. So if you are moving locations, if you have to run about, especially on the harder difficulties, it is harder to set down the supply pylon without taking some sort of damage or putting yourself in some sort of danger. Another downside to the supply pylon, which in some ways is a little bit selfish, but hear me out, is if you do have a team member who also likes to rely on grenades, then your overall damage might be hampered a little bit. This is because the supply pylon does not throw out enough grenades for everyone, and if other people are taking the grenades, then you do not have the grenades to supply your offensive abilities. Apart from these downsides though, the N7 Demolisher's supply pylon is a really nice ability, and it supports the team quite well. Anyway, let's go on to the second ability of the N7 Demolisher, the arc grenade. This is a nice electrical grenade. It is really quite powerful actually compared to the other grenades, and it can also be used to set up tech bursts as well as activate other teammates' tech combos. You can augment the arc grenades to give them more damage or to give them an electrical damage effect. I always give them the electrical damage effect. This is because the nature of grenades themselves, they come in short supply, so you want the grenade to do as much damage as possible. You may say, why didn't I put points into damage instead of radius? Well, I said that at the start I went for radius because I wanted that damage over time effect from the electrical damage talent to affect as many people as it possibly could. Also, the more people affected with the arc grenade, the more setups you have for tech bursts. The only real downside that I can see with the arc grenade is the same downside that I see with all grenade types, and that is you have a limited supply of them, so you have to be a bit sparing when using them. The N7 Demolisher does have an advantage over other grenade classes thanks to the supply pylon. It means they don't have to run about looking for grenades as much, but it is still worth keeping an eye out where the ammo boxes are, especially on objective money rounds. When you are moving about fast, you don't have time to set up your supply pylon. It's probably easier and safer to run past an ammo box and resupply yourself that way. Now let's talk about the third ability that the N7 Demolisher has. These are homing grenades. These are a unique grenade ability that the N7 Demolisher has. These grenades are fired from wrist-mounted cannons that arc towards the target instead of being chucked at the target like normal grenades. Once you target someone, you fire the grenade and it homes in on them. Unless something gets in the way, it normally generally hits their target all the time. Now, the way I spec the homing grenade was to do more damage against armoured targets. This is to complement the arc grenades. The arc grenades were supposed to be specialised to use against shielded opponents, whilst the homing grenades against armoured opponents. Now, like I said with the electrical damage for the arc grenades, you can add fire damage to homing grenades. I put points into this for exactly the same reason. Because grenades are in short supply, you want them to dish out as much damage as they can, and the damage over time effect really does help this. Having the fire effect to your homing grenades could potentially give you the chance to set off fire explosions, but as I've said in many videos, these fire explosions are quite hard to pull off, and it's safer and more effective to really focus on the tech bursts rather than the fire explosions. For those of you who don't know, to set up a tech combo, you basically have to hit someone with the arc grenade, follow it up with a homing grenade to activate the combo. The tech burst will explode, hitting anyone around the target who was initially affected with the arc grenade. The fire explosion is a little bit more tricky, but it's pulled off in exactly the same way almost. Basically, you hit someone with a homing grenade as long as it's got the fire damage effect on it, then follow that up with an arc grenade. The only difference in between these two combos is the arc grenade actually has to kill the target affected by the homing grenade fire damage in order for the fire explosion to be activated. If you get the fire explosion activated, it will damage any opponents quite badly around the target that exploded. Both these grenade types can also be used to activate teammates combos. As for the N7 Demolisher passive abilities, like I said at the start, I like to make it so I can carry as many grenades as I possibly can. I know you can augment the amount of grenades you can carry in the actual arc grenade and homing grenade trees, but I like to have grenades that are strong. I'd rather have to resupply myself more often than throw out weaker grenades. Like I said, I've gone for a glass cannon build, although it doesn't matter too much as long as I stay in close proximity to my supply pylon. You can put points into fitness if you really want that little bit of extra health and shields and sacrifice maybe the passive N7 Demolisher talents if you wanted to. As for weaponry, like I said, I went with a nice assault rifle and shotgun because weight does not matter at all. The N7 Demolisher is a human character, so it has the same avoidance moves that all humans have, and similar melee moves as well. It's not the toughest character, it doesn't have a lot of health and shields, but thanks to its abilities, it is one of the classes that can dish out a ton of damage. Also, thanks to its supply pylon, it can support any team attempting the harder difficulties. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my guide to the N7 Demolisher. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.